Hello everyone, it's Jefferson Monroe here. This is the thesis for the class of INTS, Interdisciplinary Studies. Um, this is the final project. It's over water, and it's the environmental impacts and mostly how we can keep it safe and conserved within the water cycle. Water has a long life. Um, it's constantly being renewed through the water cycle. When we think of the water cycle, a lot of us can go back to whenever we learned about it in grade school, with the way that the water would form into clouds, which they called condensing, and then precipitation. The water would fall as rain and run off to where the water would collect, and finally the step of evaporation of it turning into gas molecules and moving up into the clouds. So that's all pretty basic information. And I put together a little PowerPoint to kind of guide us along the way. And after we go through a few of the slides, I think I'd like to show a little bit of the paper that I wrote, the actual thesis itself. So let's just jump right into it. What do you think of when, like, I say water? Most people might think on a chemical level it could be like H2O, two hydrogen atoms combined with an oxygen atom creates the water molecule, as we all know. And when we think of water, we always think of our lakes, our rivers, our oceans, even ponds. And when we think of the water cycle, we really think of everything that goes into it. We could even consider the living organisms that live in these bodies of water and how they're affected even by, we can think of it on an evolutionary level. This water has been with us for so long, and we sometimes forget to realize that it's one of the most recycled forms of energy there is out there. Everything always comes and goes with water. Some people might think of salt water, like in the oceans. Obviously, the water in oceans is saltier and made of different chemical compounds than the ones we might find in the lake. And especially our drinking water, that's very different than what we might find in the lake. So this water really moves and finds its way into our lives in many different methods. And I touched up on the water cycle before we started the PowerPoint. So as interdisciplinary researchers, as interdisciplinary students and learners of this type of learning, we approach the subject from so many different aspects. So at Texas Tech, we generally choose the 3 minors for our major if we're going for interdisciplinary research. And so whenever we think of this in terms of water, we could think of it as unlimited different viewpoints of how we could view this, public relations, even chemistry, science, math, even sometimes, though it might not seem obvious. Every single branch of learning can contribute to this subject of water, and everyone needs it, everyone drinks it. It's essential for our bodies and for life on Earth itself. Animals need it, we need it. And it impacts everyone, no matter what occupation you're in. You could be a firefighter, or you could be a president who needs a glass of water for the day. The water production starts from a very universal level and always flows down to each and every person whenever we need it. So I chose a few disciplines. The disciplines that I chose were chemistry is the start out. Really, the biggest takeaway to understand from a chemical viewpoint is the pH value. In chemistry classes, we're always testing pH values of different compounds to see if they're acids or bases. In our case, water, which is mostly neutral, is going to be found around the middle, which is what we would consider to be a 7 on the pH scale. the pH values from 0 all the way to 14, the 14 being the most alkaline, or in other words, just the most acidic. And it's a fact that living organisms can die if the pH is not preserved to the correct quality. Think about whenever we go to the store. Sometimes we can see bottles of water that have different values on the pH level. And I've been running around trying all these different types of water to see which one is the best. And really, it's tough to say what exactly the best bottled water we can put for our bodies is. A lot of people also try the tap water, which also comes with its benefits. We'll touch base more on that later. But the second viewpoint that I used was economics. And economics has a huge impact in the resource of water, because the way that they package it, the way that they distribute it, even the cost, just think about all the access that we have to water. Think about all the things that it takes in order to make this water process useful for ourselves. We have plumbing, we have the showers in our home, we have the faucets in our home, and all of this comes with a cost, and all of this comes with work that's being done. And sometimes we forget to realize that throughout the entire process, we need to be treating our water in the utmost with the utmost care. Packaging of bottled water, most of the time we go to the store and we might purchase a bottle of water, and a lot of the times we're not even purchasing the water, we're purchasing the plastic that encompasses the water. And this simple fact kind of puts us on a path to where we need to understand that the trash has the potential to enter our oceans and to our lakes and rivers. So really, it's a difficult theory to understand, because with clean water, we need less substances that harm its potential whenever we intake it. And we can even think of distribution in terms of economics. It ranges from all kinds of things, water bottle companies, and then even like the water hydrants that we find on the streets. Just getting this water to everyone can be such an extreme task. This is where interdisciplinary research really comes in handy. Let me just start off by saying, like, without the water, there's going to be major problems. People will become thirsty. People will become sick. And it even leads to climate change if we aren't careful. And based on some research, if the Earth becomes too far out of control, in other words, if climate change causes the Earth to raise a few extra degrees, wildfires can occur. And we've seen that happen recently in California especially, and then Australia, it happened as well. I believe that the Earth naturally keeps its own homeostasis, which basically is nature's way of working itself out to become the most healthy that it possibly can be. And these wildfires do indeed cause changes in water treatment operations and bring significant capital investments. They require significant capital investments. So in order to clean up these wildfires, it's going to cost money. It's going to cost money, it's going to cost capital, and it's going to require us to keep our wits and have the right mind whenever we go into work on bettering up the water cycle. As humans, we tend to kind of tamper with it in order to get a better understanding of how it may be a positive impact for us. There are ways to see and test if water is safe in certain environments, rather than just a simple pH test. There is a method of chopping wood and seeing and taking tests on the wood to see what types of chemicals are found in the water that continues to help the tree grow. And so basically chopping the wood and testing it will give us a clear understanding of what is harmful and what is positive. To end on the PowerPoint, I'd like to show you this little quote. It's a Zen quote. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. You can take that as you please. A lot of people try to find a meaning behind that, but let's take a look at some of the words that I wrote in the thesis. Bottled water. What is it about bottled water? It's sealed by industrial grade technology. I know, like, these past few weeks I've really been paying attention to the bottled water that they've been selling, and for the most part I really believe it's just the plastic that we're being charged for. But you can also taste the difference between these waters, so there is something to it. These water processing plants are working behind the scenes to make sure that we put in the best possible compound into our body. And some of these water bottles are a little more expensive than the other ones. Like, for instance, you might try Fiji water or Smart Water, and I was really pondering why they were a little more expensive than some of the cheaper brands like Nestle Pure Life. And I think it's because of the way that they process it. But who knows what goes on in the processing plant. It's our call to action to be able to go to these processing plants and try to work on bettering the product. And overall, we really just want to promote health with our water and promote the best chemical structure we possibly can. And on that note, it's been a wild journey so far in 2020, and I wish everybody the best. And thank you for being a part of this journey with me.